if Hillary Clinton becomes president of the United States, expect there to be bloodshed. I just can't believe these words came out of his mouth. Talking about bloodshed, talking about as he basically it was talking about gays, talking about abortion. That's really where he was going. But to use bloodshed and the election, I'm not sure that's overly responsible. Anthony Brindisi is the Assemblyman, and he's online right now. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Bill.
I thought you were going to be Rachel Sutherland and hang up on me.
Never.
Threw out a question that you were unaware of the topic. I figured you can handle yourself.
Sure.
As long as we're talking about it, the governor in Kentucky making that comment, it's getting a little scary. Some of the comments that are coming out, both sides really right now.
It's getting scary, the level to which some of these elected officials are getting to. You know, you think you get to the level of governor or senator.
Yeah.
In the United States, you have people who are a little more sane, middle of the road, aren't going to make outrageous comments like that. But come on, I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah. Pataki, George Pataki, we had him on the other day, and said, the sad thing is that wherever you are in the political spectrum, it almost seems if you're not with them, you're against them. It's like all one way, and there's no dialogue back and forth. There's no considering somebody else's opinion. I think that's really it in a nutshell right now, right?
Well, look, I put a picture up of myself on Instagram yesterday with the workers at Remington because I was endorsed by the United Mine Workers. And I got this guy criticizing me for the policies of Remington and gun control and everything else, and how could I, who else could I take endorsements from? Hitler, all kinds of other crazy things. I said, look, these are the workers at Remington who are going to do their job every day. They're worried about, health care, good paying jobs, wages, working conditions. Let's not get crazy here, but that's the level of discourse that it's reached in this country, where people just will say anything, especially over social media. Yeah, say anything, do anything, and there's really no repercussions for it.
It is interesting, and it's scary at the same time. But the primary over. Any surprises come out of the primary? And of course, you being in the assembly, this No J story after committing suicide over the weekend, winning handily in his primary in order for the party to be able to nominate the candidate that they want running in November.
Yeah, that was a big shock. I knew Bill. Bill certainly had different views than I did on a number of issues, but he was a really nice guy. I remember one issue we always talked about was farming. Farming was very important. Agriculture was very important to him. And he would come to see me from time to time to talk about agricultural issues because he knew I was a moderate Democrat and we could see eye to eye on some of those issues. So despite some differences, he was one of those guys who really would try and find common ground on issues and try and work with Democrats on that. So it's sad to see that happen. But overall, there were really no big surprises, I think, in any of the Assembly or Senate primaries. There was one woman in New York City, in Brooklyn, that lost. That was a long-time incumbent. That was kind of a shock, but for the most part, looks like a lot of the incumbents won their primaries last night. And look, there'll be some big races going into the fall as the Democrats try and take control of the state Senate from the Republicans. Yeah,
looking to the other side of the building, that is the big question. Will the Democrats... Yeah, and even as a Democrat, would you agree that if the Democrats were to take control without any coalition, to take control of the Senate, one party rule is usually not good and can be pretty scary, especially for a different way of life like ours as compared to New York City. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think if you look at the last 4 or 5 years where you've had a Republican-controlled Senate and you've had a Democratic-controlled Assembly and the Democratic governor, things have been pretty functional in Albany. Budgets have been passed on time. Legislation is getting passed. There's compromise. People are working together. So it necessarily hasn't been a bad thing where you see in other states or on the federal level where you don't see that kind of cooperation. So I think the voters actually like that, and they like to see both parties controlling each branch of government and working together. One party control doesn't always lead to a better product in the end.
Yeah. And I was trying to ask you one final question. Has there been any point in the last 6, 7, 8 months where you have regretted your decision to not run for Congress?
From time to time, I certainly do think about that, and I'll see myself in certain situations, especially in the race as it's going right now. What would I do in this situation? What would I do in that situation? But at the end of the day, I'm very comfortable with the decision I made, and I'm glad I'm staying in the state assembly, and I think I can do a lot more good for the area than I could at the federal level. But there's always, as an elected official and someone who's interested in politics, going to Washington and being in Congress is always appealing. But at the end of the day, you got to do it for the right reasons, not because they're going to call you a congressman or you get to go to Washington D.C. That's not the reasons they want to do it.
And is Kim Myers ready to finally pull the trigger?
Well, I met with her earlier in the week. She's got some TV ads, I believe, that are going up. I've stressed to the campaign many times they have to spend a lot of time in Oneida County because this is the population base of the 22nd district, and hopefully they're going to start doing that over the next couple months. They don't have much time left, but she's not known as much as Claudia Tenney is in this area. She really has to boost her name ID if she wants to pull votes, and I think with having Babinick in the race, that might actually end up helping Kim Myers because he may be drawing votes away from Claudia Tenney.
Do you have? Is there someone that you're publicly supporting right now in this race?
I really am not publicly supporting anyone yet. I'm still listening to the candidates and really trying to make my decision as to who I think would best represent the area. I don't care if it's a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. I want the person who's going to really do the best for Oneida County, Herkimer County, in this part of the district. So, someone like Kim, I want if it was. I don't mind the fact that she's from Binghamton. I do want to see that she's going to have some kind of a district office here in this area, whoever it is, whether it's Babinick or Tenney. They need to have a district office in Utica. This is the population base, and I want to see this area of the district get its proper attention. So that would be a prerequisite of mine before I support any one of the candidates.
All right, Anthony Brindisi, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, Bill. Thank you.
It was an easy primary for you. All right, that's always good.
One.
All right, good stuff.
You.
Thanks. Not necessarily an easy primary for Assemblyman Marc Butler, who faced a challenge, his first real challenge since he's been in office. Yeah. And good morning, Marc Butler. Congratulations.
Well, good morning there, Bill. How you doing?
Been an interesting few months, and you had a big night last night. Fulton County really coming out last night for you.
Yes, it was a very pleasant surprise. I decided not to do any polling, so even going into last night, and politics is funny. I've had people that I barely know that have called up or helped in any way they can, and people that I relied on for support kind of on occasion let me down. It's just been a interesting several months, I want to tell you. And when you talk about disappointments, the mine workers endorsement, I've opened my veins for Remington Arms. I've fought for them in Albany and everywhere I can, and that was one of the shocks of this election to me, and I can't tell you how much they had disappointed me. But I want to focus on the positives. As I said, I had people actually come into my driveway at home and ask for signs and call and what can I do to help, and it was a very gratifying situation. I think everybody should run for their job every 2 years. You find out what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right in no uncertain terms.
Well, it is. It's got to be certainly a humbling experience.
It certainly is, and everybody's got their opinions, and one would say, "Oh, it's going to be right down to the wire. A few votes are going to separate you. You're out." And I got to the point where I wouldn't even turn on the TV news in the morning and see the terrible ads or look at the newspaper. It got to that point. And you know what? You still have a job to do. You have family issues that you need to take care of, and it's a stressful situation to be in. And I'm just thankful it's over, and I want to thank everybody who stepped up and helped me, because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about human nature, and we now move forward.
And for those that don't know, that Mark, of course, will be unopposed now in November. So really, the election all came down to last night's primary.
Last night, really, in my view, I mean, I suppose my opponent could continue to run in some capacity as a write-in or something. I've not heard if he has any plans or what's happening, but essentially, I had the conservative, the independence line, and the Reform Party line, so I have all the lines on the ballot all covered now, so it would be a very difficult process to undo that. So, in my mind, last night was the whole election.
Was it. Okay.
Can I ask, can you elaborate on, you said that you learned this time around about human nature and
people that might not have supported you that you thought did. Are you willing to talk about that this morning, or do you want to hold on?
Well, I think that's for another time. We have there's no question we have a little bit of a insurgency here in Herkimer County within the Republican Party ranks. That played into it. I think there may have been some spillover from the DA's race and some other factors that came into play in this election, and I will address those as we go down the road. But this morning, I'm just trying to have my cup of coffee, watch the news, and get back to work for the 118th district. I will say, you mentioned Fulton County, and Fulton County, Hamilton County, St. Lawrence County, they all turned out big for me, and that's what I say. I represent 5 counties. I have the largest geographic area in the state, and I have really applied myself. I mean, I am driving all over the map. I am meeting with people, doing the job that I need to do. So if you're in Herkimer County and, you don't see those other kinds of things, so all of the naysayers who said, gee, you're in trouble, I said, well, let's wait and see. I've worked hard. I've gone to these other communities. I'm one of the few assembly people who have 2 district offices. I actually have one in Fulton County. When I first got elected, I said, look, I'm not going to take your vote, and then you'll never see me again. I made that pledge to them, and I've lived up to it, and I think they understand that and appreciate that.
Certainly, you've got to be breathing a sigh of relief today, and you get to watch the news again. There you go.
Listen to it. Listen to it.
I'm breathing a sigh of relief, and so is my wife. It has been very stressful on the family, and we are very pleased that it's come to an end. And again, I can't thank enough the people that stepped up, helped in so many ways. The people that put signs in their yard, the people who helped me get petitions. I said you learn about human nature, and what I think I've learned is that mostly people are good people, and if you work hard and try and represent them properly, they will acknowledge that when it comes time for the election.
All right. Assemblyman Marc Butler, we appreciate your time.
Stick around and listen to the news.
Quick story, Bill?
Yeah.
I was going door to door yesterday in Deerfield, and went up on one porch step, and there was a dog that was hiding behind the porch, and it came after me. It was a boxer. I said, if the 30-foot dash was an Olympic event, I'd have beat anybody Kenya could have sent against me. I never knew I could cover so much ground in such a short time. And I look over, and there was this lady who was doing some chores in her yard, and I look at her, and I said, that's how much I want your vote. I'll put life and limb at risk. And she just laughed and put up her hand and said, you got my vote.
That is awesome. So you never knew you could go that fast. Pretty cool.
I never knew. And another time a dog came after me, and I had to run backwards. I never knew I could run that fast backwards. So, again, I said it was a learning process.
Good stuff. Assemblyman Marc Butler, congratulations on your win last night.
Well, thank you very much, Bill, and I want to tell my constituents I will continue to work hard on their behalf.
Good stuff. All right. Enjoy your day.
Thanks.
Marc Butler.